charge for the day camp usage. So that's
Well,
why I'm saying so that's different. And I don't. And so the question is, there's a difference between a 501c3 and a municipal, but I want to be sensitive what the definition is for not-for-profits. Are we talking about just 501c3s? Are we talking about, what about school groups? What's the definition for this particular policy? What are we talking about?
So just in terms of a Rye Town policy, we're separating out municipalities from 501c3 in Rye Town. So that discussion, our ongoing discussion would be a separate discussion.
Right.
And it wouldn't be encompassed by the proposed usage for not-for-profits. Okay. Now, I guess the question here for tonight would be, how do we define not-for-profit, and would a school group be considered not-for-profit? I don't really think they would be. But,
no, they're not a 501c3. Only the arm, of a municipality, like an enrichment fund.
Right. You're right. Also, can I?
Yes.
Also, same thing as far as I believe, the police department used for picnic, fire department used for picnic. So where are we staying with them?
At Rye Town or?
Sure.
No, in Rye Town.
Right. Crawford Park.
At Crawford Park,
right.
My understanding is that they would benefit from the not-for-profit usage.
So they will be different from 501c, obviously. They're not,
right.
Okay. Thank you.
So, again, here, I think our practice has been, Mr. Nwanda, correct me if I'm wrong, is last year we charged no charge, correct?
There was no charge for any qualified nonprofit school or municipal event within the borders of the town of Rye.
Okay. So if we go, so that's an answer to your question. So it's up to us whether we want to broaden it to school or municipal.
What we mean by not-for-profit.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know there are school groups that use it. There are churches, there are synagogues, there are, for example, I know, I'm talking about now Rye Town, I know the DA's office has their annual, Janet DeFiore has it. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
Well, they're not town of Rye.
They're not within the town of Rye.
Excuse me?
They're not within the town of Rye, and they pay.
And they pay?
Yes.
Okay.
But so anyway, that was the Commission's view on broadening it to municipal and school groups.
Well, in my opinion, I think we should have something in writing so we can look at it.
I was just going to say that.
Okay. Good point.
So this way we can clarify it.
We'll get some definitions in there.
We can do a proposed resolution where, work on that with council.
Perfect. Good. Okay.
Here.
Excellent. We'll do that for the next. So please, we get that for next time. Thank you. RTP Capital Committee. Basically, we have right now have, as we know previously, we've named Christina Breacher our president. I see her here this evening, and of this committee, and we've got nominees from the different villages and towns. We don't have anybody from Portchester at this point. I don't know if
the mayor apologized and forgot to come to the meeting, but yes, I can sign up. I mean, I'm happy to do it. Or yes,
you can be a liaison to one of the
I don't have no problem. I can get it back to you as soon as I talk to the mayor. It's up to you, Joe.
Okay, well, and then we also have a number of commission members that have been proposed, 2 from Rye City, 2 from Rye Town, 1 from the village of Rye Brook. And then we don't have, so if you were going to be would you want to be the member from Portchester? Is that?
I don't have a problem, but we'll get it back to you.
Okay, so why don't we go the 5 we have tonight, and then we can go and we can add Portchester to yourself, Mr. Mina, or somebody else.
You got it.
So any questions, comments on the people that have been put forward?
Well, the 2 people from Rye, what we looked for were to have people that had zoning and planning experience, and so we have 2 members of Rye committees that have over 10 years experience, Peter Lahr in planning and Serge Nivelle in zoning. And, the fact that they were willing to step up and do this, I think, is great, so we got to grab their experience.
Wonderful. From Rye Town, we basically wanted somebody with similar backgrounds. We have, one person who is basically project management experience. Christina Collins is newly elected member to the Rye Town Board. I know she's spoken to Christina before about this project. And then the second person is Martha Sokol, who's a lawyer who I understand has, Paul, do you want to mention about her background experience?
Martha's a former village trustee, a former member of the Mamaroneck Zoning Board, and a experienced real estate attorney in the Sound Shore. So,
And yeah, we're very happy to have her. Did I get her last name? Did I mess up her
Martha
name?
Sokol McCarty.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, no, that's why I thought there was two.
Right. So she'll be a
two last
great
names.
addition, I'm sure.
Beautiful. Great. So those are the Rye Town, and then Mayor
Yes, and
Feinstein?
from Rybrook, we have Dan Tartaglia. Dan serves on our planning commission. He is knowledgeable in real estate matters as a real estate attorney, and he was actually quite familiar with the park. He was formerly counsel to this commission.
There's a
Right.
resolution.
Yeah, Commissioner, he's got an issue.
I don't have an issue.
Well, then a question.
We only have to vote for the 3 at-large members. We don't have to vote for the one selected by the mayors and supervisors.
Oh, we don't?
Not according to the resolution.
Okay.
So we can confirm it.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm all
so,
for confirming.
okay, perfect. So, so what we'd like to do is confirm the 5 nominees for the Rye Town Capital Committee. Can I get a motion to confirm the 5 nominees as
So moved.
announced? You got a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Why don't you call the roll?
Commissioner French,
Yes.
Luis Marino,
Yes.
Mayor Feinstein,
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sack.
Yes.
And,
And Carvin's, yes too.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
and Supervisor Carvin.
Supervisor Carvin.
We received an email. I would be happy to serve as liaison.
Oh, okay, actually, that's a good point. Let me...
Since I always go onto the radar screen, I'm willing to do it.
I sent an email today.
But it's
Thank you.
whatever, whatever.
Well, what I was going to suggest, that's absolutely wonderful. I'd love to have you serve as liaison. Did anybody else from the board want to serve
If
as
anyone else
liaison?
wants to do it.
As well.
It's in the
I'll
back.
liaison to the sign committee. It's all yours, Mayor.
You want to stop?
Commissioner Salanitro, I know you...
I'm here to help you, Mayor Feinstein.
Good.
Okay, so
Thanks,
maybe
Benny.
we'll let the record show that Commissioner Salanitro and Mayor Feinstein will serve as liaison to the Rye Town Capital Committee. Beautiful, thank you. Great, thank you for offering for that. Okay, Carpe Diem. Every day is Carpe Diem,
My
right?
Lord, puppy ran into my knee.
Oh, wow, sorry.
85-pound puppy.
Ooh.
So I'm Susan Auslander.
Hope it wasn't at Rye Town Park.
What's on leash?
No, not in the Rye Town Park, in my backyard. In the wilds of Walkabuck. I'd like to propose that you proceed with a federal grant proposal. Nita Lowy's office contacted me about an RFP. They feel that we could, the price that Lisa Easton mentioned in her budget for the restoration of the exterior of the historic bathing pavilion, the roof is all done, as you know, would be $3.2 million, and we would be eligible to apply for up to $1.6 million, and I'd like you
So
to...
what is the 3.2 billion? I wasn't confused when I read this.
That's what Lisa estimates for the cost of the exterior renovation of the building as is. Now,
Which building?
The historic bathing pavilion. The towers.
But
stucco building.
we've always spent the money on the roof.
You did the roof.
Right.
This is the exterior, the stucco.
Oh, okay.
This is sealing the building's envelope, as the architects like to say.
So basically, just if I understand, you're proposing a success fee.
That we apply for half of that, so you could at least do the work with 50-cent dollars, as you had put it previously.
Exactly. So,
I do have a question. It's a matching grant again,
It's matching.
which leads to the same question that we've discussed before. You can
Right.
apply for it, but if it was matched, there would be a capital infusion that would be shared between Rye Town Park, Rye Town, and also the city of Rye. So I want to make sure.
well, that's exactly right. That's what I
We
wanted
did
to cut
that,
to the
yeah,
chase. I
yeah.
wanted to cut to the chase.
Right. You can
So
apply.
basically, Mayor French, since the Rye Town and Rye City would shoulder the $1.6 million matching burden, is this something that, well, I guess there's two choices. We could turn it over to the Rye Town Capital Committee for discussion, or
Of the
we
match.
could, but I don't know, again, what your situation is. Could you match the 1.6 even if we were able to secure the grant?
Well, with the tax cap alone, so let's say we get the 1.6 that we have to match, and we're 40%, you're 60%. So at $600,000, you know, the cost for us to just carry that issue is going to be charged against the cap.
Right.
So, if we can match whatever we can afford, does it work that way, or we have to accept the full 1.6?
Well, you may not get the 1.6. You can get up to 1.6.
Right. Well, let's say we get 1.6. Does that mean we have to come back with the funds?
You'd have to match it dollar for dollar, whether from the capital committee, private funding, businesses in town, whatever. But it would have to be matched for you to claim the money. And again, like all government money, state or federal, you have to spend the money and then voucher for reimbursements.
Right. So that's not budgeted for in the city of Rye. I mean, we have zero in our capital budget this year. We're going out for a bond referendum potentially at the end of this year for critical needs, flood mitigation, road repair, something like this. What happened with the roof project is we got the grant, and the city had to come up with $400,000, and the way we funded it is we took it out of another project for recreation. So those are the discussions that have to happen at the city council level when it comes to approving capital projects for the city. So I don't think Councilman Sack and I are in a position to say yay or nay on this. It really needs to be put before the city council to say, yes, in fact, it's a $3.2 million project, which I think is open for debate also. Who knows it's going to cost $3.2 million?
Okay, so, please.
Christina Beecher. I just wanted to ask a question. One of the discussions we've had preliminarily about the building is whether you would need to, or whether there's a possibility that you would build it out in the back to accommodate future tenants. And then I guess it raises the question, if you repair the facade, but then there's subsequent work, how does the timing work? And I would also wonder, is this a grant, will this window come up a year from now, and what is the timing of the grant?
The grant, the award is usually made, we have to apply for it by June 8th, this particular one, and they will respond to us, they say, within a month. So you would know, yes or no.
And how long do you have? And assuming you're successful,
this is under jobs creation. Mm-hmm. Remember, I gave you all that material about how many jobs, and then the permanent jobs by the appropriate tenant. So that would be about 73 jobs, in town for good, theoretically. But it's, it is a gamble to take. You don't have, they don't hold a gun to your head and say you must take this money, So you can always turn it down.
Well, my suggestion is, I was going to ask you to coordinate with the Rye Town Capital Committee. I was going to suggest, and the Rye City Council, obviously.
Yeah, let's get on the agenda to present to the Rye City Council at one of our upcoming meetings, because they're funding 40% of this project, of the balance due.
And my view would be I'd go for it, personally, but
for the 60%.
With the 60%, but I know Rye City doesn't have the financial. No, Chucky, sorry. I think that because one, we don't have to take it, right? So Susan's working on a success fee basis. We don't absolutely have to take it. We know in a month's time. In worst case scenario, say, well, look, we just can't come up with the corresponding funding, so we. But I think, just to be fair to you, Susan, you don't want to go through all that time and effort and secure the grant and find out that we can't afford it. So my suggestion is, although I can envision as part of the Rye Town Capital Committee plan, it's one leg up, and maybe they want to get funding from other people, other sources, maybe that we can provide that kind of thing. So what I'd like to suggest you do, Susan, is coordinate with the Rye Town Capital Committee. And then obviously the Rye Town Capital Committee needs to coordinate with Rye City first and foremost, and if it gets, and then we'll have in with the Rye Town. So thank you for your suggestions. It's nice to know those kinds of monies are available, and we don't want to just turn it down. But we're obviously in a very difficult. Mayor French, absolutely right. Is that going to be a priority in terms of his priorities? In terms of
I have one question. In order for a decision to be made one way or the other, assuming that you're successful, what is usually the period of time that you have to take the money or use it by? And you understand that you're reimbursed, but is there a time frame that you have to actually...
Usually within a couple of years.
But is there something... I think the only reason I ask the question, that's also important in the decision-making. If you have a time frame, that's out there, obviously, you'd have to incur the expenditure, or somebody would have to fund it and then be reimbursed.
Well, the shovel-ready, quote, projects are the ones that have priority
this is
in the economic development.
Well, this is clearly not shovel-ready.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Joe, one quick question.
Yeah,
you said something, if we don't accept the grant, if we're successful in getting it, we don't have to pay Susan the success fee.
Well,
but you in the past have actually said that's not the case, right?
Well, it depends. I've given you this risk-free to you, but if there's a possibility, then we go back to the 7,500.
So, could you coordinate with? That's a very good point. Thank you, Commissioner Sack. We don't want to, and I don't want to put. I don't want Susan to do all this work and find out that it doesn't work.
Right.
So let's make sure we have all our ducks in a row for you. So thank you so much. Okay. All right, we're running out of time here. We got lots on our agenda here. Okay, let's try and go through these quickly if we can. Westchester Special Citizens Day Camp. Bishop, just want to explain what we do for the portion spent, and ultimately there's no charge, and my recommendation is to continue to be no charge. There's no additional cost to the Rye Town Park.
Yes, so absolutely. All of those things are true. Basically, it's the Handicapped Citizens Program from Portchester. They bring their citizens to Rye Town Park for beach days for 3, 4, 5 times during the summer. They use the pavilion, but they don't use it for any kind of event or anything like that. Basically, to just stay out of the sun. They're in and out of the park. They're gone by 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
There's no additional cost.
There's no additional cost.
So just wanted everybody to know that we're doing this, since we're trying to formalize our policies. Is there any objection to continue to do that? Okay. Cystic Fibrosis, Great Strides Walk. They want to use the park for a fundraiser. We wanted to charge them a fee similar to Westchester Children's Museum because the impact on the park is about the same. We're talking about a $300 fee. Is everybody happy with that? Want to know more about it?
Just the time frame again.
When's it being?
Well, they're running from about 9 o'clock till about 1 o'clock. It's very similar to what the Children's Museum is doing.
Yeah.
They walk through the entire park basically, but it's one of those fundraising walks.
Okay. We have East Coast Surf, Skate, and Snow. I think they want to do something...
well, this is a commercial venture,
right. So I'm going to have to talk to the Rye Town Capital Committee. Unless there's any...
we just think it's an incompatible use.
Well, let them talk to the Rye Town Capital Committee. And
fine, we can refer that to them. Okay.
And if they want to present next time, that's fine.
All righty.
Yeah, I'm going to do a presentation, I guess.
Yeah.
Fine.
Westchester Edge parking request. They need
Water's Edge.
They need Water's Edge. They're going to need our parking lot for 3 days, April 2nd and 4th. Are prepared to make a $500 contribution to the park in exchange for that usage. Again, I think that makes a lot of sense for us.
They'll provide insurance, and they're also going to provide their own overnight security for the parking lot for those nights.
Beautiful.
All good.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right. So now, are we getting a car counting proposal tonight?
Well, the car counting proposal came in yesterday. I gave it to the commissioners just now, basically.
Okay, so we've got two. We got the budget and the car counting proposal.
We may want to defer or offer that to the parking committee and have the parking committee give us a rundown on it.
I think
they were the ones that actually
selected.
selected.
Sense, and if we have time at the end of the meeting, we'll go through it. Okay? Since I just got on our desk.
Okay.
So budget. I'm going to give my budget summary. And then we can, there's obviously a lot of detail, a lot of breakdowns. You got a lot of information. Basically, look, we expect to generate $912,000 in revenues this year. We got a lot of sophisticated modeling Mr. Arcaro's done. He's taken the average of 3 years for most of the revenue rubrics. Anyway, we're at $900,000 more or less in revenues in the park. If you look at the actuals from the last 3 years, that's pretty consistent. So no real surprises there. And as we all know, it's fairly weather dependent. And we can go into much more detail later on. We come all the way down to costs. We're at $950,000 effectively in costs. Well, and ultimately, therefore, we're looking at about a $40,000 projected operating loss for this year. So that's sort of the summary numbers. Now, my overall comment to Bishop was I want to try and get the $950,000 in costs down to the $910,000 range. So I'm going to ask the staff to go away and think about some areas for reducing costs so we can get the cost down to the $900,000 range, which is consistent with sort of the revenues we're anticipating. So that's the broad overview. Let me open it up to questions.
Well, it looks like there's some potential reductions in expenses that was given to us by staff. I'm not sure if that was already incorporated.
No, that's a new document.
It's a new document. Okay.
Right.
Well, this is the same document that was there last month.
Yeah.
Joe, to your goals, do you want to get into this? Because this might...
Well, let's just discuss it. So are those proposed savings already in the document?
No. These are savings that we felt we could not put in because they would impact service levels, and we wanted the commission to have an opportunity to weigh in.
So let's just talk about
since staff has already come back to us with some of their recommendations. Right. Now it's up to us, I guess, to make a decision.
Well, okay.
We can?
Yeah, sure.
Well, these deal with reduction of expenses dealing with cashiers and lifeguards. Okay, on the cashier side, it's talking about a reduction in service like Bishop just said regarding 3 items. You have the purchasing of permits from 7 days to 5 days, May 14th to June 17th, and that's just under $800 savings. The cashier's reduction of time for the permit office to be closed on July 15th rather than the typical July 31st. It might be a slow period of time, that's why they're making a recommendation, and that would save $1,500. You have the North Beach Gate being closed from Monday to Thursday. I'm not sure how, there's a $6,000 potential savings there. The only question I would have on that is, is it being proposed because there is no activity or a limited amount of activity from Monday to Thursday? And then, obviously, the other 2 recommendations deal with the lifeguards. And both of those are substantial savings, Joe.
Gotcha.
$17,000.
These came from the lifeguards?
No.
Where'd they come from?
Staff.
So how does the lifeguards know that we've proposed this?
This has been brought up with the lifeguards in the past. This is actually coming from a reading of the beach regulations in terms of beach safety regulations that are put forth by New York State. And there are opportunities here. The first one, for example.
Yeah, I can tell you, I'm going to veto the last one.
Okay, well, I'm just saying the first one.
Yeah.
Where we put the swim lines determines how we have to staff the beach.
Okay.
And if we currently, for example,
well, we haven't talked to the lifeguards on this, have we? They may have a different view than you.
They have a different view, and we have discussed it with them. But we have a difference of opinion. So at this particular point, I think the Commission really has to take charge.
Can I just deviate, because you're talking about service levels, the cashiers, the lifeguards. You did give us backup information also about the level of security. Has that security looked at all to see whether or not there could be cost savings in that particular area as well on particular days where the use is not as great?
I think in the process that we looked at, certainly some considerations were made there, but I have not heard back from security, Joe Nito in this particular case, in terms of any further cuts. I did put out an email to all of the staff asking them for, the approximate $50,000 in cuts. Could they take another look at how they're staffing and what they're doing?
All right. Well, if I'm going to give feedback, ultimately, there's potentially $25,000 in savings here. Since I certainly wouldn't want to not lifeguard the North Beach from Monday to Thursday. That would be, I think, would be just really deteriorate from the quality of the beach experience. So I think that, we're looking at, call it $25,000 in savings here. I have some ideas about some savings as well, and so what I'd like to do is, I don't think there's a need to approve the budget this evening, is there?
No.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is sit with staff and talk through these proposed changes and see if there's not other ideas that we can get. And I would like to get, as I say, I'd like to get the expenditure at least down to 920. So we're close to break even.
There is another line item. If you're going to pick off a couple of $1,000 here or there, the under administrative, the professional fees seem to have increased 50% in 4 years. Now, we're not talking about a lot of money, but if you look at it, if you go back, not 50%, 25%, whatever, but take a look at that as well.
Yep. Okay. Any other suggestions on where we might be able to take costs out? And if anybody wants to, I'm going to meet with staff, but anybody else wants to meet with staff, they're more than welcome. We're happy to.
And I'm assuming the workers' compensation line, what you did is you broke out with the new projected insurance, you broke out the workers' comp and the unemployment insurance,
yes.
right? So therefore it would be $34,000, $35,000 versus $61. Projected.
I'm sorry.
55 and 6. It's 18 projected, 18.8 almost, and 16.5.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you broke it out. And
Those
whereas
are-
the projected this year is 61 with the 55,000.
Right. That's correct.
Are those firm numbers, though? Would that be firm? Because, the unemployment has been, as they say, a moving target.
Well, I think the projection is a conservative one. Our model came up with about 13.8.
Yeah.
But we put in 16.5. Again, we're not quite sure exactly how this is going to fall in. There is a savings. We just got an email from the Workmen's Comp Board today. We're actually at 17.9 in terms of the new Workmen's Comp policy, so there's about $1,000 there in savings.
Bishop, there was some talk about possibly doing the permit purchase online with credit card. Has that gone anywhere?
Well, we do use credit cards for permits, but not online.
Not online. Okay.
We have not come up with a model to do that yet. But we certainly are doing our renewal through the mail and using credit cards. We did that last year. It was highly successful.
Good.
All right, well, listen.
I think the revenue is exactly right. I think this is about a $900,000 on average a season, give or take with the weather.
Right.
And I think that's generally the right number. But on the expenses, and I agree with the supervisor, I mean, it doesn't have to break even, but I think we should budget for break even. And so we look at the breakout of security, and it says on a Wednesday, May 30th, we're going to have 4 security guards. I guess that's 1 at each of the booths, and then a roving security guard. During the day, is the supervisor's time included in that? Is he one of the guards, or is that an additional guard that's on site?
Now, he's a salaried person, and he's on site.
Right.
But he would be, in effect, what would be, in that case, a fourth person, if you will, fifth person.
Actually, it's fifth person. And that's the point I've been trying to make, is I think we're overstaffed. I always thought that the supervisors were working a shift as well, and they were just the go-to person to manage the staff. If we have a very top-heavy organization of a director, a supervisor of 4 or 5 functional units, and then we have staff underneath for a 3-month beach operation, it seems very top-heavy to me that the savings would actually be a supervisor would work one of the shifts as well, and then be the go-to person for management decision-making.
So let's look at this. I think that's a good suggestion. I want to look at that between now and the next meeting as well.
Joe, if I could.
Please take notes on the. Obviously, you have the minutes, right?
Yeah.
So even without any of these potential additional cost savings, the budget as currently composed budgets an overall loss of about $39,000.
Yep.
And I agree. I've said in the past that we should endeavor to budget for a flat budget, but put that aside for a second. I think the City of Rye's share, as the budget is currently written, of the operating losses would be $18,000 roughly, which I think is a manageable number compared to what we've had to pay in recent years. There's a capital expense line here, separate and apart from the operating budget, and the City of Rye's share for that would be $27,000. I think one thing that the city of Rye, and I think the mayor would agree with me, one of our concerns is, we budget for a certain number, and then at the end of the year we get a bill for something way bigger. So, and I think, we have a recognized need for capital expenses, but I don't think that we can afford them if we're going to, at the end of the year, be paying a much bigger bill on the operating side for any losses. So, I don't know if there's any way to do this, but I think from the City of Rye's perspective, we may want to have the capital budget be contingent upon meeting the numbers in the operating budget. Because if we have to cough up a whole lot more money that we hadn't planned for on the operating side, then we're not going to be able to then fund the capital expenses, if that makes any sense.
No, sure, it makes sense. I think what we have to do is look at the $70,000 capital budget and figure out what's absolute priority and what's not, and I think we can try and stagger the expenditures in such a way we have a sense of how the season's evolving. As you know, Commissioner Sack, a lot of the, weather dependent, a lot of the, we have a revenue projection, if we can get our if we had the 2010 revenues of $985 and this year's projected expenditures, we'd have a surplus. But I hear what you're saying. So if we can stagger the capital expenditures, we won't be able to eliminate the capital expenditures, but certainly some portion can, I would have hoped. And so if we can take that into account as we finalize our budget discussions, and Mr. Nowotny, as we sit down with staff, we can prioritize capital expenditures and stagger them through the year. At least we can have a sense, and maybe hold off on the lesser capital expenditures, such that we can accommodate a difficult season.
And then another quick couple of things, and this is for Bishop. Speaking of the roof, and speaking of operating losses, I think in conversations with our city manager, I think he's still looking to speak with you and your office about what the final bill for the roof is for the City of Rye's share, and also, I guess, as to what the final operating loss is for last year, so that we can also fund our proportion. And I think there's some concern about audited numbers versus requested billings, and I don't know enough about it, but I just wanted to raise it and ask you to please speak with him.
Yeah, we've been speaking with Gene Gribbins, and there's been back and forth dialogue and back and forth disagreement on the amount.
Okay. And then, Joe, I'm sorry, two more small things on the budget, and I know we're not going to approve it tonight, but I just wanted to get it out there. These are things that I've raised in the past, but I guess they qualify as nits for me at this point. One would be, I look at the Village of Portchester gets paid $7,500 to do the garbage. Yet the City of Rye spends $15,000 in police overtime on the 4th of July, and we don't get anything for it. So I think that we may need to look at an equitable way to deal with that situation, because it does impact services that are provided. Some municipalities get paid for it, some don't. I'm not saying it could be apples and oranges, but I'd like to revisit that and maybe have a full discussion, and we can all let it hang out, and we may not come to an agreement on it, but I at least want to have a discussion about it again if we could next time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me take the police overtime, and I've talked to the city manager about this. It's when you're going to have extra security inside the park. The supervisor and I guess 2 seasons ago, agreed to up to about $6,000. I don't know, we figured about $2,000 a day for the holiday weekend. And so the bill for $15,000 is really outside of the park, and that's normal part of our operating structure going back years. But we did authorize additional spending up to that amount. So if the city can provide the Rye Town the $6,000 breakout, then I think that's part of our discussion.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The other points that the commissioner raised on the budget, we'll look to do about $75,000 in the Rye City budget to Rye Town Park, and that could be a mix of capital or operating deficit. And so if we get the deficit down, that's money that goes straight to capital.
Right.
And so this year, for example, we budgeted $75,000, and it looks like it's not going to be total operating loss if the numbers pan out. so our contribution will be less. That extra money will go towards capital needs, and I think that's how we're going to plan going forward. Is trying to get the deficit down and manage it and put it back into capital.
That'd be great if we have it so that nice weather, good like any company, be able to invest more in the park, and of course, if a difficult year, it'd be tougher to invest in the park.
Right.
Good. Okay, so if there's no other further question on the budget, I'm prepared. I'll sit down with Mr. Nowotnik, staff, try and get our expenditures down to the $920,000 range. And any commission, I'll let commission members know when I'm going to be meeting. Anybody's more welcome to join us. Or if you have any further ideas, don't hesitate to send them to me.
And I've asked the city manager to outline all of the questions that were raised with respect to some of the miscommunication and copy all of us.
Okay, perfect.
So we're clear on this is the issue and this is the amount.
Good.
And we'll get more transparency. Good.
Okay, well, we have 1 minute. The Carpe County proposal. Maybe I wouldn't mind taking 1 minute since it's just been a long. Oh, he's here. Oh, you didn't tell him. You didn't know me. This poor gentleman can't. I didn't know. Sorry. Okay, we'll take a minutes then. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yes, sir. Would you introduce yourself? Yep.
Michael Lazarus. I'm from All Point POS. We take care of the computer system for the park throughout the year. What I did is went to a couple of customers I use that do people counting. And we spoke to them about how to do car counting. We spoke to 2 companies who gave us the equipment to do this, and then we looked at integrating that equipment and how it counts the cars coming in to how we can integrate that with the data coming out of the POS. So there's really 2 parts to this. One is the counting of the cars, so we can count the cars very accurately for you, and we can do that 24 hours a day. So it's not just when the park operates, but it's really any time, so you can get a real full report.
How do you do this, Michael?
Basically, there's three devices that you can have. One device is very simple. It's just a tube that gets connected to a counter, and every car that goes over it, they count it. Typically, that's only a one-way direction. So either way the car goes, it counts. So it's not as perfectly accurate, but at least when we have the park open, we can count the cars going in, match that to the receipts coming in for the cash register. So that would tie back and forth. And we've also talked about procedures as if a car comes in that's a delivery car, to still ring that as a transaction, so we still have the same number of transactions in the system as the counter, so we can match those up. And we've also.
How do you know it's a delivery car as opposed to?
They come in and tell you there's a truck that's delivery, and you give them a receipt. And one of the thoughts was to have them actually get it validated. So have them validate that, and that goes back in the register when they go out. So that way we can really match everything in and out, right? So you'd have number of transactions in, and then you'd have the count. So that's the simple one.
How much does this system cost?
There's 3 different devices. So the simple one, which I talked about, just counts both ways, is $1,000 per lane. The more advanced one, which gets buried in the ground, and I can only give you the hardware cost for that right now because what we've been told is that the condition of the pavement itself has to be looked at. There really can't be any potholes, cracks in it, because once you bury these wires, if water gets in there or anything like that, you'll have it for 1 year and then it won't be active anymore. And that's $5,500. And that's the most accurate way, by the way, because what that'll do is count car each way. It will tell me car went in, car went out. So that's the most accurate way of counting. And the third way is using radar. Actually, it tracks a car going past the beam. So when the beam breaks, it counts that. Again, that one doesn't know which way it goes, but we can, again, match the timing to the receipts. But we could also count, with those, how many cars go in and out throughout the day. And then the one last piece, regardless of which solution you pick from the hardware side, there's a data integration. We've got to marry that data between what's coming out of the car counting to the POS. So we've got to do some database work to match the timing, so we can, when you do a receipt, when you cash out, what they call an X report or Z report, we can match that data to the car counter itself.
And have you looked at our systems at all? Do you know how easy or difficult it is to integrate with our systems?
I built your systems.
Oh, okay. So it's not tough then.
Well, it's not. I'm not going to say it's not tough, but I know it can be done easily.
Okay. So how long does it take you to implement the system?
The single lane one, the $9.99 per lane, that takes a couple hours. The radar one would be probably about 4 to 5 hours. The other one, you have to actually dig and bury the wires. And that I don't have an accurate number because the condition of the pavement, again, has to be looked at. Because you don't want to do this one time, right? You want to bury those wires, make sure that that pavement is properly sealed. Because you can imagine water getting in, freezing each year. It may last 1 year, maybe 2 years, 3. You want it to last 5 to 10 years.
So, Commissioner Salanitro, what are you thinking?
Committee has the committee had a chance to look at this, Bishop? Or for any comments?
The committee actually solicited this proposal. I don't know that they've seen it. As I said, the proposal came in Monday, I think it was.
Yeah, I finally got final numbers on Monday.
So I think the parking committee really should take a good look at it.
It sounds like it's pretty much a traffic counter that you would see on a highway.
It's the basic one is just like a traffic counter because those are going one way, right? The other ones are a little bit more advanced.
Right. The radar, it's a beam of light. So you have, is that what that is, a beam of light that reflects back and forth?
It's not light, but it is radar detection.
Okay. So kids running back and forth?
No, it's metal objects.
It's metal, okay, so it's specific, okay.
And you could do that for both lanes. You'd have to kind of, angle them so you could, when you open up the second lane, to how to, make sure we get those right.
So I'm not clear exactly. So if we have choice between different systems,
there's 3 different mechanisms,
right?
And there's different prices for each one.
All right. So
I guess I have a question. We're looking at all these different proposals. We're talking about capital projects, and this would be car counting or capital project, however you want to define it. I think that we have to really decide. We have a list of repairs and replacement. We know that there's only a finite amount of money, at least from the town and also the city. And I think we really have to prioritize. I mean, what we want to have is better accountability. We've said that, whether it be with the arms, counters, and the like. But we, from a policy point of view, have to really determine how we're going to spend money this year, and especially in light of what Councilman Sack had to say, when we spend it and like. And I think that we really have to think long and hard, get recommendations once again from whether the Capital Committee or from the Parking Committee, whatever. But we can't look. We have to look at things as an integral part. And
I'm just about I hear you, but I have to. So if I understand, I've got one $999 option
per lane.
Per lane. Well, how many? We got one, right?
3 lanes.
We have 2 lanes.
Well, in and out.
Yeah.
Do we care if they're going out? Why do I care if they're going out? Well, yeah, let's just say 2 lanes. Hey,
sometimes you use that going in.
So let's reconcile in and out. So we got 2 lanes. That's $2,000, and then I got $1,750 of data integration. So it's basically a $4,000 proposal. Correct?
Yes.
Well, $4,000 proposal to I got to say, having endured the withering storm of suspicion. I think if we can finally get these numbers right, I got to say, if I look at these numbers, it's sort of interesting. If I look at our historical numbers, our budget. So our first year we did $868,000, and a great weather year. Then we finally learned how to count the number, and we learned how to count. We had 928 in revenue. Then we cut the number of cars dramatically, went up to 985. So I have a big question mark here for $4,000. That's an absolute no-brainer as far as I can tell.
It's not the $4,000 whether or not you want to use whatever system is the best system to be able to get the desired result that you want. That's all I'm saying.
But I think what I'm hopeful.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm sorry. What's your last name?
Lazarus.
Mr. Lazarus is guaranteed. He's giving us the Lazarus guarantee.
Yeah, but it's still, can I talk?
Yeah.
You're still going to have employee in there, so I mean.
Employee what?
You're still going to have someone by the way.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously.
Well, this is
the system checks and balances.
But if I understand correctly, you can if we decide at our next month's meeting to go forward with this proposal, you'll have plenty of time to implement it, correct? For the summer, or not?
We can get it done fairly quickly.
How? Well,
regardless which choice is made, we can get it done fairly quickly. This is not a difficult.
When's our next monthly meeting?
Next month, April 17th, I think it is.
So April 17th. If we decide on April 17th to move forward, how long would it take you to get it in place? Did you get it by May 1st?
I'd say
May 15th?
May 15th would definitely be done.
Okay.
Probably could be done by May, depending on which option. How's that?
Okay, well, I'm talking the single lane.
Yes.
Simple the better.
Yeah, single lane.
Terry's got a question.
That's easy? Sorry.
Easier.
Yeah.
My thought on it is, we've spent so much
Sorry, so you got to go up to the...
We've spent so much time looking at all these different systems, and my feeling is, if you're going to do something, and you're talking $4,000, to me, is it worth? I don't think it's worth it, and I agree with Mayor Feinstein.
I don't know. This is really the first we've heard about this.
We want the best, not compromise.
All right, so why don't
my feeling is this is compromising.
Okay, I have a different view, but that's fine. That's what makes America great. Why don't we do this? Why don't we ask Mr. Lazarus to meet with our parking committee, come up with a recommendation from the parking committee with staff for the next... Actually, would you give us a range of options, for the next meeting, and hopefully, and it sounds like we'll have time to implement one of these different...
Can I just ask something?
Please.
I mean, I know this parking committee has been meeting, and I've never been asked to a meeting, and it kind of affects my job.
No, well, I think you should be. It's unfortunate.
Sorry, you were at the last meeting we had. You were at one of my meetings.
Only one.
It's the only one I was at.
So why don't... Well, can we make... You're still... Are you actually...
I am. Yes, I am.
So would you work with Ms. Finelli and the parking committee?
Absolutely, Bishop will set
Let's
it up.
let's get a definitive, well, at least 2 or 3 recommendations, if not a definitive recommendation to the board. Maybe get an expensive proposal. I know Mayor French is terribly concerned about, and quite frankly, if we can get something done that makes sense. I also believe that I think that with the Rye Town Capital Committee getting set up, there may be the park may be run very differently a year from now. There may be a private group that's come in.
A year from now, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, I think the county's going to decide.
Oh, you mean county?
Well, no, the county's going to decide on playland. If they decide on sustainable playland, I would have thought the sustainable playland would be able to come up with a proposal for Rye Town Park that makes sense. So I see a number of different options. I see that Susan's proposal for grant funding. I'm thrilled with we've been talking for years about how we do this. I'm thrilled that the Rye Town Capital Committee has been set up. I'm thrilled that Christina Beecher is taking the time to do this, and I'm very confident that Christina's going to solve all our problems. But if you could meet with Ms. Finelli, Mr. Lazarus, if you guys meet with, and Commissioner Salanitro, we meet between then and make a couple of recommendations. I think. Commissioner Sack?
One quick comment, and I agree with parts of almost everything that's been said on this issue tonight. One thing I would add is, I think the car counting system is better than nothing, but it's still not what we had been thinking of initially, because it gets us part of the way there, but it still doesn't take into account differential pricing.
Let me ask this, because I think the big drawback again has been the Rye City obvious, very clear priorities, but capital expenditure priorities, and I think that if there could be some way to have some preliminary discussion with Rye City ahead of the next month's meeting as well, in terms of seeing we start off with I think a $200,000. All singing, all dancing, and quite frankly, if we can get it done for $4,000, that's my preference. But I think that one of the things is Rye City's got has been the principal, issue's been capital expenditure prioritization, and if we could have some initial review with the Rye City as well ahead of the next meeting, that'd be great.
Joe, are you done?
Mr.
Zach? Yeah, I would agree. A couple of things we wanted: to count the cars. We haven't done that. To take cash out of the system, I'm assuming we're going to put credit cards in this year, right? And do what they do in Portchester, display your receipt. Those 3 things give you transparency, accountability, and a way to reconcile everything. And if we can count cars for $4,000, if we want to do gates at another time, whatever, that's fine. But let's count the cars. Let's have a policy where you display your receipt in your window, like you do when you park in Portchester, and let's take cash out of the system, do credit cards like everywhere else. When you go buy a bagel in New York City, it's you take out cash, they look at you sideways. So those basic 3 things get us to meet the objectives that we set out a year ago.
Beautiful.
This is going to raise our taxes.
No, it's going to lower your taxes. No, the whole thing's to lower your taxes.
You've got to have the taxes.
No, it's all goes to lower your taxes. Can I get a, thank you, Goldie. Thanks for that reminding us. Exactly. This is going to lower your taxes. Can I get a motion to bring the meeting to an end?
Make the motion.
A second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Watnick?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Gotta go vote.
You've got to go vote.
Lord, thank you.
Yeah.